Hello, everyone, and welcome to the quarterfinals of the StarCityGames.com Richmond Open weekend. Cedric Phillips and Craig Krempels here in the booth. Nick Miller down in the feature match area. He'll be live tweeting the results all top 8 long over at SCG Tour as we prepare to watch Ross Merriam, number 2 overall seed, against Zachery Alexander, number 7 overall seed with Affinity. For Merriam, it's a Forest and an Elvish Mystic to start. For Zachery Alexander, it's a Memnite, a Darksteel Citadel, a Mox Opal, and a Steel Overseer start. So a ideal start here, I would say, for both players.
Yeah, I mean, Ross's starts are very redundant, but so are the Affinity ones. Ross has something like 16 1-drops. A bunch of them produce mana, and the Affinity players got tons of 0-drops. The key for them is that Mox Opal on turn 1 to really have the explosive starts.
And the other key for those Affinity players out there is that they have Galvanic Blast or maybe a Devoted Druid, because for Ross, he can get to infinite mana pretty quickly here if he does have a Court of Calling, which can find Vizier remedies. Master of Ethereum means that red mana is down. It's a pretty healthy attack here from Memnite with a Steel Overseer activation. And now we're going to pass the turn back over to Merriam, who's going to very quickly untap. He'll draw a card, and we'll see if we're going to play another game here or not.
Yeah, it looks like he has...
Another turn here, excuse me.
What he needs. It looks like he has the Court of Calling, which will just be infinite mana and overrun. This is just a spectacular start out of both of these decks. And Ross, yep, he's getting infinite mana here.
So there's the Vizier, there's the infinite mana. Does he have a Zachery? Well,
he just has it.
Magic is so easy when all of your creatures are a million. Ross Merriam, that's 3 turns?
Turn 3.
Turn 3 for Ross Merriam against Zachery
Look at that
Alexander.
smile. Oh, man.
Pretty hard not to smile when you win that easily. As Elves very quickly up a game over Affinity. It's this one Vizier in Ross's deck that he can find via Court of Calling, he can find via Eclectic Company, he can find via his draw step in combination with Devoted Druid. And we've talked so many times here, Craig, as we've covered a lot of Modern tournaments this year, about players trying to put together the Vizier plus Devoted Druid combo and trying to do it in an Obzon Company shell, and it just not quite being there.
Yeah, it just feels like there's too many clunky pieces. Oftentimes it gets into the mid-game and they've got this Vizier in play, one in their hand. It's not a very threatening card. It's pretty fragile. So I really like what Ross is doing here, where you're just playing one copy of it. It can be pretty spectacular sometimes. And a lot of games you can just win while not even worrying about it.
Yeah, instead now he's only got the one, like you mentioned, and things just get a lot easier if you do kind of backdoor into it. Cool. And if not, you can still just kind of play a normal game and still have a normal game plan.
Well, and the Elves deck was a viable deck before this combo was in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we take a look at the sideboards here. We'll start with Zachery Alexander. He's on your right. 3-Etch Champion, 2 Relic Progenitus, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Spell Pierce, a Whip Flare, which we know is going to come in. Same thing about that Gear Power Aether Grid. A Grafdigger's Cage, Wear Tear, Dispatch, and a Thought Seize here for our Affinity player.
Yeah, so obviously the Whip Flare and the Gear Power Aether Grid are just auto includes here. I think I like the Dispatch as well as another way to interact with the opponent. We saw how good Zach's start was that game, and just being able to get one card off of Ross's side might have given him the window he needs to win. There's a question, an opponent that has a bunch of Stony Silences, you're going to bring this Wear Tear in against. Ross is only showing up with 1 Stony Silence today, so Zach probably wants to leave that Wear and Tear in his sideboard, but there is some temptation to bring it in, because when the Stony Silence comes down, it's almost impossible to win the game.
Yeah, that's the thing about having like these one of high impact sideboard cards that Ross has, and we'll head over to his sideboard right now with the 3 Path Exiles, the 2 Chameleon Colossus. Those cards not great in this matchup. Path fine, Chameleon Colossus definitely not. But you see the Rest in Peace Stony Silence, Fracturing Gust, Burrington Forge Tender, Selfless Spirit, Kataki War's Wage, Aven Mind Center, Eidolon of Rhetoric, Electromason Sage, Scavenging Ooze. For the Stony Silence and the Fracturing Gust in particular, Fracturing Gust is a very scary card. Elves can cast it right away. It's not hard for them to do, so you look at those Spell Pierces and it's like, maybe, but there's only one. Yeah,
and sometimes if the Elf deck had an explosive start, like they can just pay for this Spell Pierce.
Yeah, it's not that hard for them to do.
But yeah, I mean, talking about these sideboard cards, obviously the Rest in the Stony Silence, not the Rest in Peace, and the Fracturing Gust come in. The Kataki's War's Wage, tutorable effect that's just spectacular, and the Reclamation Stage, very strong here.
Those are the options there for both players. They're shuffling up. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment, so we'll very quickly talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale one last time here today from Richmond, where you can get up to 50% off of select standard singles like Gideon, the Scorpion God, Heart of Kieran, and so much more. Go.StarCityGames.com/weekly sale for more information. I'd recommend you just bookmark that link because this sale is going to end at 10:59 a.m. East Coast time tomorrow, but the new one is just up 1 minute after. And again, go.StarCityGames.com/weekly sale. Back to the match we do go. Players will be taking a look into opening hand in just a moment, so we talk and learn a little bit more about Ross Merriam, your Elves player here, who has just made his 19th SCG Tour top 8, looking for win number 5 here in Richmond, not too far from where he does reside in Roanoke, Virginia, though the hometown is Middletown, Connecticut. 28 years old. We know he's a fan of Jeopardy, Eggs, and the Utah Jazz, and he's liking these Elves right now, too. You know, he stepped away from Elves in Legacy to move on to Storm and some other decks. He had a lot of success with Elves in Legacy, which we do know. Some of those SCG Tour Open top 8s are with Elves in Legacy. Really the first time we've seen him do it in Modern, though, right now, and he's having a lot of success, and, you know, a turn 3 kill would make me want to play the deck, too.
Yeah, it's been impressive every time we've had him on camera. Just really a fun deck to watch play. You know, as long as you're not getting blown out by a whole bunch of lightning bolts, it's a blast. If
people aren't gunning for you and people don't really have a lot of removal and interaction for you, you've got kind of free reign to do whatever it is that you want to do. As it looks like Alexander is going to take a mulligan here, and Merriam is going to keep his opening hand. So we'll see if Zachery can bounce back on a hand of 6. Again, for Zachery Alexander, this is his first SCG Tour top 8, so congratulations to him. It's been a good run for a number 7 overall seed, and it's not over yet. One mulligan isn't the end of the world for an Affinity deck, and you know he is one of 11 Affinity players in day number 2 of competition, and much like Syracuse, where there was 11 in day 2 there, it is our most played deck on day number 2. We don't see a ton of it, it feels like, but we always feels like we see at least one in top 8.
Yeah, it's a strong deck, super fast, and it's nice to see it showing up in some top 8s. You know, we had 11 burn decks in the second day. We didn't see that on camera at all. None of them made the top 8. So, you know, it shows, you know, certain strategies are shaking out towards the top of things.
Zachery going to be taking a look at 6 cards here in just a minute. You have to imagine that Ross is a pretty heavy favorite in this match now, as he's currently up a game. And when we have results from our other matches, we will, of course, let you know. And it looks like if this one might end quickly, we'll be jumping over to another one. So we'll definitely keep you up to date and up to speed with that, as Alexander looks like he's going to reluctantly keep his opening hand. Top card's going to go to the bottom. A Blinkmoth Nexus is where we do start. And now it looks like a Vault Scourge and an Ornithopter are going to bring Alexander down to 18. We head over to Ross, who had a great draw in game number 1. We'll see if he's got a great draw this game as he starts things off with an Elvish Mystic.
Yeah, there was a pretty big shrug out of Zach when he kept his hand there.
Well, it's a slow start for him, so it does make some sense. He's going to attack for 1. He's going to tie things up. 19 all. There's a Signal Pest, and now you get the shrug.
Yep.
Because I don't see any of those 2-mana Haymakers and Steel Overseer, Archon Ravager, or Cranial Plating on the battlefield. Plating in hand, sure, but not where it needs to be, which is in play, as we head back over to Ross for his second turn.
Yeah, and it's real hard to mulligan to 5 on the play, especially with a deck like Affinity where you need so many pieces to work together.
Looks like Temple Guard is going to enter the battlefield tapped. 2 mana as a Devoted Druid. We could be going infinite on turn number 3 here if Alexander doesn't have any interaction. That's an Inkmoth Nexus. What that is in discolored mana. Here's an attack with the Signal Pest, the Vault Scourge, and the Ornithopter. Battlecry trigger is going to mean those other creatures get a little bit bigger. It'll be attack for 3. It's a Cranial Plating. Cross the fingers that you get to take another turn. Last time Zachery did that, he didn't. So we'll see if Ross will give him another turn. That's a Windswept Heath.
And I think Ross has all the time in the world here. We see him, you know, pulling a Collected Company towards the front of his hand. It looks like he also has a Path to Exile. So whatever this plating ends up on could just die right away. You know, potentially the Collected Company just ends the game by itself. A lot of good things going on here if you're Ross.
You got a Vault Scourge, you got Ornithopter, and you got Signal Pest coming in again. This time, though, the Vault Scourge is wearing a Cranial Plating, so it's much larger than last turn. Merriam going to fall down to 15. I think we might have a basic forest on the way here from the fetch, and we do. Collected Company will be on the way as well. So after Ross does shuffle and present, we'll see what he does find off of the powerful instant. As Craig did mention, he does have a Path to Exile in hand as well if you'd like to interact with that Vault Scourge. Devoted Druid will help assist in casting Collected Company, and he'll take a look at the top 6. We'll see if he can find 2 creatures, which is relatively likely.
I like his chances.
Yeah, you and me both. Elvish Archdruid in there. Looks like there may have been 2 of those, and he even found the old Reclamation Sage.
Yeah, he might just go double Archdruid here.
None of these creatures he can block. Signal Pest can only be blocked by creatures with flying. Same thing can be said about Ornithopter and Vault Scourge. So all these creatures are safe, I guess I'll say, on this attack. It doesn't mean that the Cranial Plating is safe from Reclamation Sage, though. Merriam giving a pretty long look to his hand, as well as the top 6 cards from Collected Company. He's not quite sure what he wants to take. I mean, it's almost like he's got too good of options, correct?
Well, he's doing a lot of math here. Like we said, he got 2 Lords and a Reclamation Sage. So he's wondering if he can potentially kill Zachery next turn, or if he just needs to make sure he gets this Cranial Plating off of the table. You know, Ross already had an Azuri in his hand, so that would be the 5th elf in play if he takes the 2 Lords. The Lords tap for 5 mana each, creating the overrun ability on Azuri, plus the +1/+1 buff from each of them. There's a lot going on here.
Well, yeah, he's mathing now because, as you mentioned, he might be able to just go infinite here with the 2 Lords and Azuri. So math he shall. Math he shall. And this is a situation where you don't want to math wrong.
Certainly.
That's for sure.
One, the big thing is here, after a pump from Azuri, he can untap the Devoted Druid a bunch of times to generate more mana to pump again.
Yep.
If you play the Open or a Classic this weekend,
And I think it's a little complicated, but I think he's going to have enough mana to do it. To kill Zachery next turn.
Well, you hope he's not wrong. I'll say that.
Well, I think even if he is wrong, he's going to get, you know, this isn't a crazy amount of damage. If he paths the Vault Scourge here, he's going to end up taking 1 damage.
That's true. That's true.
You know, it's pretty doubtful that Zachery will be able to finish him off next turn.
Well, there's the path. So
even if he is wrong, which, like I said, I think it's close, but I think he has it, you know, he should get another turn after that.
So right now, Archdruids are going to tap for 4 mana each. Ross is going to draw. He drew another path, so he's got even more interaction. So now let's see how he wants to do it, because I think this turn we see him play more Elves. He has everyone's Elite in hand. You see Zachery going to search for a mountain with the Path Exile. Merriam at a very healthy 14, though giving the opponent some colored mana can always be a little bit risky. Gear Power, Aether Grid, Whip Flare, stuff like that. Galvanic Blast. Those cards could end up mattering, assuming Zachery gets another turn. I think it's certainly Ross's goal to make sure that he doesn't, as there's the Elite, which will be joined by an Elf token, which means that now Archdruid will be tapping for even more mana. So they'll each be tapping for 6.
And I think he's looking to get Azuri onto the board, and then they'll each tap for 7, which is a lot of mana.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So you see he's double and triple checking himself. He's going to put a -1/-1 counter here. Remember that Devoted Druid is a little bit larger than normal simply because of Azuri, or excuse me, because of the Archdruids. So he can put more counters on this because it already has a larger power and toughness. So he'll untap again. So 3 counters on it. Right now it's going to have a toughness of 4 because of 2 Archdruids and base power and toughness of 0.2. He's just being very careful here because he can't put another counter on that thing, at least not yet.
Not yet.
Yep. See if maybe we can get a mana counter out there to see exactly how much green mana Ross has for our viewers at home.
Yeah, this will be changing a lot this turn.
Yeah, this might make things easier on everybody.
But also, I think drawing that second Path to Exile, gives Ross the option to not have to kill his opponent this turn. It's hard for things to go too wrong. All of his creatures are quite large, so the Whip Flare won't kill all of them. You know, he's not going to die to the cranial plating. Like I said, one big creature is not going to take care of the job here.
If you're Zachery, you're an F6 right now. You are hoping that Ross makes some sort of egregious error.
Sure.
That's really all that you can do. Your battlefield's fine, but it's not great. As you mentioned, a card like Whip Flare, not going to do a ton. Gear Power Aether Grid, not going to do a ton. Here's a path on another Vault Scourge.
Okay, Ross just did a whole bunch of math.
And I think he might just say, I'm going to double overrun, perhaps? Untap. Maybe I can just get it done with an Elvish Mystic and Devoted Druid? Who knows what's going on now? But here's an attack for what appears to be enough damage to get the job done, because Zachery Alexander is going to extend the hand. So, clearly it must be enough, or Zachery doesn't feel like he can come back, as Ross went through a lot of math there to figure out exactly how much he could do, and it was actually exactly lethal. So, Ross Merriam is going to win this game and match here over Zachery Alexander, 2-0. Elves will take care of Affinity, and for Ross,